What up, YouTube? Today we got another repair on the 2003 Lincoln Towncar. Stay tuned. Alright, so today we got another video on the Towncar, and I'm sure you can already tell that today's video is going to be about the sunroof. So, when I first bought this vehicle, I went on a test drive, as you should always do when you buy a vehicle or before you do that. And during the test drive, I opened the sunroof one time and it made like a screeching noise when it went back. And then it made kind of another sound like that when I closed it. But it did open and then close, right? But then after that, it would never open again. It would only go, the back side of the glass, it would go down, but it wouldn't go back. And then it would close and go back up. So it was kind of just doing this, but it wasn't sliding back. Then one day I had my buddy with me in the car, and I randomly just tried to open it again, and it actually did slide back. So I was able to look in the tracks of the sunroof, and I noticed there was kind of some debris and some stuff that almost looked like glass in there. So I'm not sure what's up with that. However, I don't know if you guys can see this, but there's a Torx screw right there. I don't know if it'll focus. Oh, the light came on. So there's a Torx screw here. And then this piece just pops out on the front like that. There's a little pin. And then it swivels out. It's literally on a swivel here. So there's two Torx bolts right there and right there. And then, of course, the same setup on the other side. And those four screws will remove the glass of the sunroof. So we're going to go ahead and take those out, and we should be able to see the tracks and the moving parts of the sunroof, and we can kind of figure out what's going on with it. Alright, so I've got a T20 and a 1/4 inch ratchet. I'm going to go ahead and start removing these four bolts here. One thing I want to point out is that the rear ones seem to be slotted. The front ones seem sort of slotted as well. And so the glass was lifted a little bit. So you want to make sure that you get it in pretty much the same position if possible. And then, of course, you should be able to tell if it's flush with the glass when you get out, because we can clearly see that it's dropped a little. So we want to make sure that that's flush when we tighten it back up. We may need a helper to kind of help us line it up. It seems like the front two were pretty much bottomed out, but then the back two were kind of lifted up a little bit. So do take note of that when you're doing this. Okay, so I've gone ahead and just tucked my right hand, put it inside the vehicle, and I pushed up on the glass, and then I lifted it up with my left hand. So I'm going to use both hands to grab the glass and fully remove it from the vehicle. Okay, so I tried to open the sunroof one time with the glass out, and I believe that I've already found out the problem. Pay very close attention right here. You see this arm, how it's located inside this little track of the other plastic piece? There's a little pin that goes inside there. So I haven't touched anything. I haven't relocated anything. We're gonna come over here to the other side and look at this. The pin has come completely out of the track, and I bet you that that's why it wasn't working right. So I'm going to put that in there and see what it does. So even after putting that in, it still sounded a little screechy, and I'm getting this little debris out of here, and I swear it looks like glass. So I don't know if maybe somebody busted the sunroof or something, but this little debris I'm trying to get out of the tracks here. Stuff like that that's going to prevent it from moving. And then I put a little bit of lubricant in here. It's probably too thin. It was basically just like a little WD-40 the other day. But I'm just kind of in here making sure that there's no super large pieces. This is pretty easy to disconnect. It just swivels off and then you take that piece out of there. The only other thing that you have to do to get it to swivel up like that is pop this out, which we've already done, and then this goes into another spot on it right here, and that's also pretty easy to just pop out. So it may look complicated what I'm doing, but it's not too bad. And then these kind of go into those holes, so you got to have it in a position where it'll be able to clear that. Otherwise it's relatively easy to get in here. So I'm just going to make sure that little debris and crap like that is out of there on this side. I think it's only this side that was the issue, so I'm gonna go ahead and put this back together and we'll see how it looks. Well, I ended up finding some debris on the other side as well. It's glass 100%. There's a couple of tiny pieces. Where'd they go? You can see them right in there. I can't really get to those two, and they're not really in the track. I'm not too worried about that. I don't know if it was vandalism or if it was, you know, something fell on it from up high. I'm not really sure. The car seemed really, really clean to have been vandalized. It was in a garage, apparently, and I firmly believe that based on the way that the paint looks. So kind of interesting that we are seeing that sort of thing on this. Get this lined back up. Make sure your two notches, there's two tracks, right? So you want to make sure that the notch, there's a top one and a bottom one. Make sure that they're both going into the spots they're supposed to. And we can kind of push this back in as well. Oops. Come on now. There we go. Other one here. Nice. Now I'm going to try it again. Alright, so I've gone ahead and applied some white lithium grease in the tracks on both sides. And I've moved it back and forth several times, trying to work that in. And it seems to have quieted down a bit. And I got about as much of that debris out of there as I reasonably could. So at least for now, unless it gives me any more issues, I'm happy with that, because there was definitely times where it would literally not move at all. We had a dang armature, I guess you would call it, out of place. We had debris all in the tracks. The lubricant was kind of old and somewhat dried up. So I think we've definitely made an improvement on it for sure. It's at least working. Obviously we want to test and make sure it's still working with the glass in, but I think we should be good to go after that. All right, we got the glass back in. Remember, we got to make sure this is lifted a little before we put the screws in. Another thing, if you feel like doing it, which I'm not going to do on this vehicle, at least not right now, but you could replace your sunroof seal while the glass is out. This rubber should just kind of pull right off, and you can put a new piece of rubber on there and seal it up better. This one seems to be in decent condition, other than there's a little bulge right here, but I'm not too concerned about that right now. But anyway, we're gonna go ahead and put these bolts in. All right, we've got the glass back in, and I kind of noticed there's a little paint on the seal. So I wonder if it's been painted before too, or maybe they just put the glass in while the paint was still somewhat tacky, and over the years inside that little groove it came off. Not really sure. Another thing I want to point out though, because I just mentioned it, there is a bit of a bulge in my sunroof seal, and I noticed on the side there is kind of a rip. So I may actually come back and replace this at some point. But for now, I just wanted the sunroof to work, and I wanted to make a video on how you can potentially repair yours if it's leaking. I don't have a sunroof seal, not if it's leaking, excuse me, if it's not working right. But I don't have a sunroof seal on me, so that's why I did not replace mine. However, now that it's all back in, let's test it out. All right, moment of truth. So far, so good. Not too noisy either. One more time just for good measure. Alright, well, that's a hell of a lot better than it was. I would consider it to be working for now. Then if I have any further issues, I mean, we already know how to get at everything, so hopefully it just stays good. And that's going to be the end of the video for today, guys. Hope you all enjoyed. If you liked the video, hit that thumbs up below. If you have a comment or a question about doing this job yourself, leave it down below and I'll be happy to help you out if I can. And otherwise, please subscribe to the channel and I will see you next time.